And welcome. I'm President Anthony Dream Johnson of the Manosphere, today with a special edition of 21 Live. I'm joined by the one and only George Bruno from the George Bruno YouTube channel, huge on YouTube, as well as Miss Andrew today, aka DDJ, aka Doomsday Jesus, returning, back to the show here with me. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me at this very unusual time in American history. I want to start off, and we'll put links to their YouTube channels and stuff later in the description on YouTube. But I want to start off, obviously, America, there's been riots and shit all over the country past couple nights. And I want to start off by asking both of you, because both of you are older than me. DDJ in your late 40s, George in your 50s. When I was born in 1988, so I have no memory of the 1992 LA riots for Rodney King stuff. But in my understanding of history, that was the last time there's something this serious. What we saw in the 2010s was not like what we're seeing now, which is really, really nuts. So can both of you talk to me from your experience back then, what you remember being in America and what was going on in the early 90s with, and how you what your perspective of it was, observation, and and I don't even know, did it spread outside of LA or was it mostly just focused in California? Because this is so bizarre because it's spread over the whole country. Floor is open for both of you to take it however you want.
Go for it, George.
Here's what I remember. There wasn't a 24-hour news cycle. I believe the only 24-hour news was maybe CNN at the time. Everybody waited till 6 o'clock in the evening for the World News Tonight. There was no internet. We never saw anything in real time ever. The 24-hour news cycle and the web has put us everywhere in real time. And of course, now with instant broadcasting, every cell phone is now a news station. You think about it. Every camera on every phone. Think about it. I mean, everyone is a producer and an anchor.
Us right now. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember in other cities, like I was in the Seattle area at the time, and I do remember that there were some protests when it came to the Rodney King riots in other cities, but they were not violent. They were just people, they would just have like a basic march. They'd march for an hour and then everybody would get back to their lives. I mean, the riots that we're seeing today, I mean, they're more akin to the mass protests that happened right after President Trump was inaugurated, and those riots have happened since then, and those things have been coordinated across the nation, top down.
Yeah, but the violence we're seeing with this I think it beats that stuff. I mean, there was like that limousine got lit on fire in DC and some shit, but this is like serious violence.
I agree wholeheartedly, and this is something that I've reported on, in 2018 forward on my YouTube channel. And the issue here is I think the reason that they're more violent today is because Antifa and their supporters have been training for years. They have training camps in the United States. They have access to ghost guns. The Antifa riot that happened in Washington State at the ICE Center, the elderly gentleman, he was in his 60s, who ended up getting shot. He was carrying a ghost gun. Nobody's done any reporting on that.
A ghost gun means there's no serial numbers on it. They were ripped off of it.
It was not only no serial numbers, but it was manufactured by the cartels within the United States, but nobody really wanted to talk about it. And there have been ghost gun manufacturing facilities in the United States that have been, where the FBI has raided it and where the ATF has raided them, and they get next to no news. It's like, page 27 on the bottom, right next to the classified ads. It's really sad. And so we see these riots today, they're extremely violent because, again, there are Antifa training camps all over the place, and they're well funded. These training camps are funded. These people are getting paid to go.
In 92, there was no Antifa back then. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, there's similar, but not like we're seeing now.
Well, they did not have Antifa as such back in the 90s. What they had is they called them anarchists. So a lot of communists would identify as anarchists, and frankly, nobody took them seriously. They didn't have the power or the influence that they have today. And again, you might have a few anarchists, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're batshit crazy," and then everybody would move on with their day. Nobody would take them seriously.
George, can you tell me more about the 90s, the kind of the atmosphere that you saw back then when that stuff was going on? Compared to what we're seeing today. The internet is a big thing. I agree with you that it's enabling even the possibility of this. regardless of who's pushing what. The fact that the internet and constant news and all that shit. Yeah, I mean, because it didn't spread outside of there.
Yeah, last night I was watching what was happening in Berlin, Los Angeles, Philadelphia became Thunderdome, just a wasteland last night, only a few miles from me.
Damn.
I watched everything in real time. It wasn't something that happened 12 hours ago that a news station was playing. So, of course, now we're getting closer to the 4th of July, and a lot of people have fireworks. So you hear a boom, a boom, a boom here, and you know, in the neighborhood, whether it be fireworks in the sky or an M80 or something like that. And it did cross my mind for a second. Holy smokes, maybe it's coming out to the suburbs. That literally crossed my mind.
Yep.
But
yeah.
The 90s, literally everything was a delayed reaction. There was no such thing as real time. And what I teach my followers, I teach what I call stoicism, and that is to delay your don't deny your emotions, but delay them. And that's exactly the opposite of what's happening. People are being impulsive. They're giving knee-jerk reactions and opinions and verdicts really fast because we are in an instant microwave culture. Everything, I mean, I made a pot of oatmeal yesterday morning. Took me 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Steel cut oatmeal. And in the past, that's a 30 to 40 minute meal. So I'm used, like, I want it and I want it now. So we've instantized everything, even the news, even the verdicts.
We're stacking that too on top of a whole generation raised by single mothers and dysfunctional families and broken families. I mean, it's really what I see going on is like a real, an accumulation of things, a compound effect of like, shitty values. Things are falling apart culturally, obviously. The dating marketplace, sexual marketplace, single motherhood, broken families.
Yeah,
all this stuff, to the point that you even have MGTOW. Men are just like exiting the whole dating market. They're like, fuck this shit, from false allegations and like, divorce court,
It's like part of the a segment of the red pill community are men raised by moms who know nothing about raising a man.
Yep. And
dad is a visitor that they saw every other weekend and Tuesday nights for ice cream. And what happens to this? What happens is, like, I have 25-year-old men calling me a pussy or calling me bro. That's like my latest thing. And I said, I'm not a pussy and I'm not your fucking bro. And I will knock you on your fucking ass if you said that to my face. Because I tell people that now. Say that to my face, and this 60-year-old will surprise the fuck out of you.
Are you 60 now?
I'm not trying to be a tough guy.
I thought you were 59.
I will be 60.
Okay.
Very soon.
Very soon.
Well, let's be real. I mean, George has more testosterone flowing through his system than most millennials, just because of their lifestyle choices and things like that.
Yeah.
But to touch on something that George said earlier, which I think is extremely important, I pride myself on my ability to hunt down the facts and to research the truth because of my legal background. But you know what? I got caught up in the knee-jerk society earlier today too by some disinformation. I thought that the Attorney General, AG Barr, had been suspended on Twitter, and it turned out that it wasn't the actual account, but there was a bunch of disinformation, and I got caught up for probably about 15 minutes before I was able to fact check it. Yeah. So,
dude, that's because you need Twitter. You need Twitter to fact check it for you. Duh, dude. You got to suck Twitter's dick, dude.
Well, but my point is that I think that what George says about taking your time and analyzing, that's super important, and that's a message that everybody can take with them. And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how well you normally fact check. I mean, these are timeless truisms that really are super important. And the thing about this is that if this was truly about racism, if we talk about the George Floyd thing for a second, if this was truly about racism, okay, and these different communities who are rioting right now are truly concerned about it, then I think that you would see a lot more people in these communities talking about black on black crime. And you would see the same kind of attention when it came to racism type issues. You would see the same type of attention given to the Caucasian woman in Minneapolis who was murdered by the African-American Muslim police officer. And yet everybody was super quiet about it.
I think he was an immigrant from Somalia, actually, or something like that.
So in the Obama era and prior, Minnesota was a definite relocation area for Somalians. So there's a huge Somali population in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And that's part of the reason why Representative Oman was elected to office, is because they just imported a bunch of Somalians and they all voted for her. But that said, I mean, look, if this was about racism, you wouldn't see people saying things like "eat the rich." They wouldn't be targeting symbols of capitalism like banks or government agencies or things like that. You would see actual protests. I mean, I consider myself as a Mexican American. I consider myself as an old school civil rights advocate, and the definite difference between the riots that are going on today, the insurrection that is happening today, compared to Emmett Till, who was the young African-American boy who was falsely accused of sexual assault and sexual harassment, who was hung and murdered, or Rodney King, who had been beaten by four Caucasian police officers, or any of these other things, is that the actual civil rights advocates focused on the message, and they focused on, look, this is an issue and it's an issue that we need to address. But if we are to look at statistics, when it comes to, and I'm not talking about generic statistics. I mean, everybody has their own stats, but if you look at verifiable sources and you kind of did a meta study across it, you would see that in this set of riots and almost every protest since Donald Trump has been elected within the United States, every riot, every protest, it's all been about communism. It's all been about Antifa. It has all been about eat the rich. It has all been about an attack against capitalism and revolution. And frankly, these people have been practicing entryism into every community that we've seen on the internet and off. And this is a multi-year plan. And what people don't understand about communism, or some people don't, I should say, is that communism is a multi-generational revolution. That's what they care about. They don't necessarily care about winning. They care about creative destruction. The only thing is that they're not creating anything. It's a real serious issue. And frankly, like I've said, on social media, I believe that what they're trying to do is to foment the second Civil War. And frankly, the thing that surprises me the most is that in 2017, 2018, 2019, when all these things were happening, we didn't see anybody get charged with terrorism. We didn't see anybody get charged with insurrection. We didn't see anybody get charged with national origin discrimination against patriotic Americans, which, by the way, is a civil rights crime at the federal level.
Yep.
But today, the difference today is that President Trump, AG Barr, the federal government is saying, look, if you cross state lines for the express purpose of committing violence and then you actually commit violence, you are committing a federal crime and you will be charged as such. I think that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like they're, I'm pulling up Trump's Twitter right now, actually. It looks like actually Trump and AG Barr are getting ready to declare. Now, we'll see if it happens, when the fat lady sings, but it looks like they're getting ready to declare Antifa a terrorist organization, which I know DDJ, you, and who knows how many online content creators have said for a while. I've seen that on Twitter. I've seen that on YouTube, that it should be labeled as a terrorist organization. They should be tracked down by the FBI and DOJ and stuff. So do you think that's going to happen based on what they're saying? Yeah,
I do, but I will tell you this right now: we are so close to civil war, it's not even funny. And back in July in 2018, not only was I saying that they were a terrorist organization on my YouTube channel #ShillAlertMissAndrew today, but I was also tying in where they were getting their funding, and I was able to prove on video where the Southern Poverty Law Center was funding Antifa, was funding these riots, and was funding illegal immigration. They have definitions for this in U.S. federal code. These are called aiding and abetting federal crimes. And there are a lot of tools that the federal government has at its disposal, I should say, to take these people out. And I don't mean take them out as in like rooftop Koreans or anything like that. I'm talking about, hold them accountable, let them spend some time in Guantanamo. I'm talking about, real peaceful stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What do we think? I wanted to pull up the article, but I couldn't find it. I found an article about a year ago And I think I might have even shown it on the Redman group, or at least I tweeted it and stuff. Maybe you guys saw it. It was an article that's actually describing what's happening right now. It was saying that most of the people, the pundits talking about the next American Civil War, they don't have it right because the country isn't set up like a North-South kind of thing. So if there is a Civil War that pops off, it's never going to be like this very clear-cut thing, left versus right, blue versus red, all this shit, because the country isn't set up like that. But what happened and what they were suggesting in this article, and it was a big site, it was some sort of like, alternative news site, Zero Hedge or something like that. They were describing what's happening now, which is that you would see Rodney King-style riots break out across the nation. And that would basically be the beginning of, or the main thrust of the next American Civil War. That's how it would happen. Like what armies are going to form up to fight each other. And it's not going to be like that. It's just more this super widely distributed thing. And it's like, the fucking chaos that we see now.
Well, history has a lot to teach us, and frankly, all those observations are 100% accurate. But actually, if you look online and you look at, again, verifiable facts, not just Wikipedia, you can actually find references to this happening as far back as 2009, 2010, 2011, but it was happening in the Middle East. They called it the Arab Spring. And it also happened again, this exact thing happened again in 2014 in Ukraine, where a democratically elected president had his entire government overturned because he chose to side with Russia rather than the European Union.
Holy shit. Whoa. We got something important here. Trump just labeled Antifa a terrorist organization.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. It's about time.
About 20 minutes ago. Damn, dude.
Well, let's talk about the ramifications of that real quick, because I think that what's important here is that means that anybody who finds Antifa, Southern Poverty Law Center, the Kellogg Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the other organizations that I talk about in my video on this about SPLC funds terrorists, guess what? Under federal law, you could shut those organizations down.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, fuck, dude. What a wild year, man. I was tweeting yesterday, actually, that I really think this whole year is, this whole year has been fucking wild beyond belief, right? Make Women Great Again was a big media explosion for the manosphere, but even that pales in comparison, I think, to what we're seeing happen nationwide worldwide, the pandemic and this other shit. I think this whole year is like a fight for the Republic, basically. Nothing less.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is it. Like, this is like, there's a lot of things linking up. There's, what we're seeing now with the riots. There's a pandemic stuff. How much of that was BS? How much of that is deliberate, malicious intent to harm the economy, to hurt Trump, and whatever this other crap. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what a wild year, man. Pat Stedman made this tweet too. I thought it was pretty nice. Police will arrest you for opening your business, but they won't arrest people for looting it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple comments in the chat on the 21 Studios YouTube channel, and one of the guys made a comment about how Brazilian jiu-jitsu isn't going to work when you're being swarmed. That's absolutely correct. I mean, if you're talking about martial arts and things like that, first and foremost, don't be there. Yeah. Do not be there. Okay. And number two, if you have weapons, and I posted this on Twitter earlier, if you have weapons, train with them. Don't sit here and run around and keep it on your wall and then all of a sudden pull it out and think all of a sudden you're Bruce Lee. Because everybody who's pulled a weapon, whether it's a sword or anything else, guess what? They're all in intensive care if they're still alive.
Yep.
All you're going to do is get yourself hurt.
Yeah, that guy last night, I think, got killed, or he's either that or he's almost dead in Dallas. Yes. There's a big video. I'll find it if we can here.
Yeah, the video is pretty graphic. I wouldn't put it up on YouTube, but the video is extremely graphic. I've retweeted it. A lot of people have retweeted it. There's a lot of violence of like one or two people who are sitting here and they're like,
this is me. I'm looking forward to martial law. Like,
but I've been rambling on. Bruno, what's your take on the president's declaration about Antifa?
Well, I don't know much about Antifa. I really don't. I haven't studied much. All I know is it's like the wind. I really don't know what causes wind. I don't know the science behind it, but I see the effects of it. I see trees bending over. I see cars flipping. I see houses and personal belongings get blown around when the wind forms certain patterns. Tornadoes and hurricanes and this kind of stuff. I don't know much about Antifa. but I see what happens. I see what results out of it. For instance, the civil rights movement. You know what? As much as some people wanted to complain about it, some wonderfully positive things have come out of the civil rights movement, and I'm happy about that. With Antifa, what is the upside of anything that they're doing? Anything.
Yeah.
You know
MLK,
what I
I
mean?
was
I'm
thinking
not
this morning,
seeing.
MLK would be ashamed of all this, anybody pretending to march in the same vein that he did back in the day. This is absolute fucking
Well,
chaos.
but
Yep.
let's talk about the differences here, because I think this is an important designation that a lot of people don't understand. Okay, the civil rights movement, led by Dr. King, led by all the civil rights icons, that was truly a civil rights movement in the context of the United
Yes, it
States
was.
Constitution. And I agree with George completely that a lot of really good things came from it. However, the Antifa movement is not a civil rights movement. The social justice movement
Right.
is not and has never been a civil rights movement. It has been a communist
Yeah.
campaign, pure and simple.
Yeah. I posted here today
Yeah.
too. If there is a civil war looming, that I mean, if what we're seeing is already not that, there's many, and people have said for a while, there's civil war coming, the silent war, this war, this. I mean, like what we're seeing now, like we're major cities, dozens of major cities have really serious. It's not protest. There's a little bit of peaceful protesting. 80% of it looks fucking violent looting, though. If there is one looming, this is your last chance to stock up. I started prepping for this kind of stuff back in 2009, 2010. And the pandemic alone, showed me how useful that was, as well as hurricanes and stuff. I feel a lot better having a lot of food and ammo around, even though rarely does, too much happen in Florida.
You have to realize the minute a group is called a terrorist organization, it's no longer law enforcement. It's now a federal problem with federal solutions.
Yeah.
And they're going to be meeting violence with violence. It's going to be, I think it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Once we see it on the news, once we see it plastered everywhere,
Yeah.
they are a criminal. It's not just a criminal organization. It's a terrorist organization. That
DDJ
brings it up now to the federal level.
Yeah, and I want to ask DDJ, maybe he can confirm this. Is that going to enable them to label these people enemy combatants and shit like that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But let me tell you what it's going to do in the short term, because again, this is asymmetrical warfare. If you look at what's happening in every major city in the United States right now, and you do your homework and you reconcile it with what happened in the Ukraine in late 2013 and early 2014 with the disinformation campaign, the fake human rights movement, everything that happened in Ukraine is happening right now on a larger scale. So what it's going to do is it's going to give the United States government tools to go into places like Google, to go into places like Twitter, to go into places like Southern Poverty Law Center, YouTube, and to be able to start hunting for Antifa in those organizations. Because I can tell you right now, I've done videos on it. There are Antifa members who work for big tech, and they work in prominent positions in big tech. All of those people are going to get targeted. When it comes to all these financial institutions and these foundations and these fake 501c3s that are funneling money to illegal federal crimes of illegal immigration, or, again, funding Antifa, or like this legal fund that Hollywood is starting to fund, they can seize all that money. Those are terrorist funds used for aiding and abetting terrorists. Take all that money and start balancing the budget. Use it to build the wall. But, the other thing that I think that we really need to talk about too, if we're going to have a conversation and bring up prepping, while food and ammunition are important, I think the other things that people really need to focus on is number one, well, functional strength. Number two is medication and first aid, and knowing how to do it, knowing CPR, knowing how to set a tourniquet, knowing, how to conduct basic first aid. And there are a lot of opportunities out there for people to be able to do this very inexpensively, to learn these skills. And in addition to that, making sure that you have a stockpile of vitamins and medications and things like that are extremely useful, especially with the COVID scare or anything else. I mean, the point of the matter is, if you're taking a 1-a-day vitamin twice a day, and you're taking vitamin C and you're taking zinc, guess what? It doesn't just protect you from COVID. It protects you from just about every kind of flu or cold that you can imagine.
Yeah. I want to mention, by the way, that this bulletproof vest is the one that actually was gifted to me by the company, so I guess it is a sponsor. So this is the one I have. This is the one I provide upon request, although no one's requested it yet, for speakers at the convention every year since 2018. And, as of yet, no one's ever asked for it, but I offer it to VIP attendees as well. Not formally through the company, but like personally. And as of yet, no one's actually asked for it, but I always have it around. I keep it in the room, actually, if someone wants it. A speaker, a VIP attendee, myself, anybody. And, bulletproof vest, well, technically nothing's actually bulletproof, but, bullet resistant and stuff. This is one I got. Level 3A is actually the important part of this. That's going to stop, I think, pretty much everything short of rifle rounds. This will stop like a 44 Magnum round. I think this is important to have, and people overlook this stuff when they're prepping. They stock up on, food, and they should stock up on food and guns and ammo. But self-defense, like protecting yourself, the ability to get shot and not die, is pretty useful.
Yeah, I've heard rumors about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but people overlook this stuff. Even back in the day with preppers, they didn't talk a lot about this, and like this could save your life. Period. Certainly, you're going to feel a lot better. Other than it's not too heavy, but the heat of it and stuff, it's worth it to have it. And this, if you have the guns that you need and the ammo you need, this is right after it. Like immediately grab it up, 100%. Yeah, as far as guns and stuff, let's talk about prepping and stuff. I think I'm going to buy another gun now. I've been putting it off like something on my wish list for a while. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on that. No pun intended. I have a lot of ammo myself, like 4 digits. And I think every young American man should. I think a lot of the founders obviously supported that, including Thomas Jefferson. He made explicit quotes about that. Young men should have the ability, should not only have the ability, should be armed. And I think at all times, that's part of, to me, being responsible, not just a man, but an adult. If you're a woman watching this, you should be armed. You should have as many guns as your heart desires, and you should have the ammo and the training to use them. And you should train, consistently as you can. I shoot maybe, I don't know, 6-10 times a year. So almost once a month, something like that. I should probably train even more, but at least I do that. And I've done that with professionals too. Firearms instructors, retired military, Navy SEALs, all kinds of people. But do whatever you can to go practice and get, used to what you're doing, and make sure you have what you need.
And the more you do, the more comfortable you get with it. I was raised in a family where everybody has firearms, everybody. And yeah. I can't imagine a life without, I've never had to use them, but I can't imagine a life without them. And it's like an insurance policy. Yep. Where people will say, well, why do we need car insurance? Well, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
That's right.
And I think that's a great guideline.
Yeah, I've never needed to use a firearm either. There's been a couple instances where it was close, almost pulling it, but never had to use it. But, like you said, you much rather have it than not need it. A gun is like a tourniquet. Tourniquet. You don't need a tourniquet 99.9% of your life, but if you need it, you need it very badly and you need it very quickly.
Well, the old school saying on that was, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I will never forget. I'll never forget going, hearing a story of my brother in the men's room at one of the hotels at the one of the conventions, and there was a speaker from Canada. My brother was like tucking his shirt in, and of course, my brother carries 2 firearms with him at all times. One in the small of his back and one right in the front, just easy access, whatever. And he has, kind of like the untucked shirt, which just keeps everything legally concealed and so forth. And as he was buckling up his pants, the Canadian said, "Oh my God, is that a gun?"
Yeah.
And
that sounds like Cuck Cooper.
And my brother says, "Yeah,
they don't allow women in the men's room."
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Carrying a gun is not a big deal. It's something where in America, a guy will say, "Wow, what is that? What brand is that?" And the guy will share it. And it's like, "Wow!" And then the guy will clear the chamber, take out the magazine, and hand it to the other guy properly. And the other guy will look at it and say, "Wow, how does it fire?" And they can actually have like an hour-long conversation about how efficient it is, how it works. Did you ever have any misfires, any mechanical issues? Hey, thanks, man. Oh yeah. Hey, we should go to the range sometime. And all of a sudden, two guys who didn't know each other are going to the range and then going out and grabbing a bite to eat and having a beer later on. I mean, that's normal here.
I actually got a lot of, when Miss Cooper came after me for, I've encouraged and allowed attendees and speakers to carry firearms to the 21 convention for 10 years now. And
legally, you have.
Yeah, lawfully, of course, lawfully. And if you're not, of course, get the fuck out. But that's why I always do in America, the convention, we've always held it in Florida or Texas because they both have really good gun laws to carry them.
Yeah.
People ask me, like, oh, why don't you do the convention in California? Why don't you do it in New York? I'm like, because in terms of the ability to responsibly protect myself and protect the event, those states are shitholes. I don't know what else to tell you. Like,
well, and
super gay.
And we don't want the 21 convention to be held in a communist country.
That too.
Right.
But exactly. But that's why, a lot of Second Amendment guys were very, very happy to see me as a business owner push back against Rich Cooper, when he came after me for that shit, which is absolute bullshit. I think it was a whole, of course, like DDJ talked about, attempted coup in the company. But as far as the gun stuff, that was nuts to see a speaker try to dictate to me who's going to carry firearms at my event lawfully within the bounds of the law. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Never mind, like you said, he had been to the convention previously several times, and he had seen speakers and people and staff and attendees carry guns. They have been doing that for 9 years at that point. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Right. And I think that the important takeaway here, though, is that the 21 convention, this group of men, the majority of the speakers, obviously, or at least all of the current speakers, to my knowledge, are patriotic Americans who promote civil rights, including free speech and gun ownership and everything else that's associated with it. And I think that those are American values. They're bedrock American values. And for people to come and turn around and to try to act as though and gaslight and say, well, we have a problem with your American values. Well, guess what? Go back to your third world shithole. Tell me how Venezuela's doing. Have a nice day.
Yep.
Yeah. Or go back to your state.
Yeah.
Or your city.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yep. Yeah, I just had no tolerance for it, though. On several fronts, someone trying to dictate to me that was not, I lead my company. I'm the majority shareholder. No one's going to tell me what to do. Never mind someone who's not even a shareholder at all, just a speaker or anyone. Even if it's at least one or two attendees that bitch to me, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I support self-defense. We teach that at the convention. We have Navy SEALs speak at the convention, FBI agents, professional firearms instructors over the years. And the idea that I'm going to have those speakers speak and then demand my attendees be unarmed is retarded. That will never happen in a billion fucking years as long as I'm leading this company alive and kicking. Everyone else can go fuck themselves, period. No discussion.
Yeah.
So that's enough about bitch Cooper, but...
Yeah, and like I said, going back to the riots that have been happening, I would tell people, look, unless you're part of an actual militia and a coordinated response, stay away. The best thing you can do is to not be there. Don't go there looking for a fight. Don't bring your Camaro trying to think you're gonna, get the high score on Grand Theft Auto. Because I'll tell you, if you've never been in a serious interaction with another individual where your life might be on the line, you don't want to be there. And a lot of times people don't understand that when you get into a physical altercation with another human being, it scars the both of you, regardless of who wins. It definitely, you take that with you for the rest of your life. And I say this from experience. It's not as glamorous or as glorious as people talk about. And you hear a lot of combat veterans come back from war and they say, there's no winners or losers. There's just the survivors and the dead. And that's a very, very true thing.
DDJ, on your point of staying out of stuff, I agree 100%. If you're not part of law enforcement or something that formal, definitely stay the fuck out of it. On that note, I would highly recommend the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. I've been a member for about 2 years now. There's a couple options of this. There's a couple of competitors, but this is the best one I found from my research. I'm not a paid affiliate. It'd be cool if I was, but I'm not yet. No, it's about $120 a year, and it's like $100 a year once you renew, like after your first year. And this is great. So that if you get in a self-defense, lawful use of force situation, a lot of shit can happen with, first of all, be extremely careful talking to the cops, or just don't say anything. Second, you're going to probably need an attorney. And to do that, you need money. And you're probably not going to have money to do that if some shit happens. terms of criminal, prosecution potentially, even if it's all stupid, right? Even if you're acting completely within the law, shit happens, man. Prosecutors can get a fucking hard on for coming after you, whatever, who knows. There's also civil matters. The family can sue you because you shot the guy too many times. You're defending yourself. Who fuck knows, right? There's companies like this, though. This is actually, I think, I don't know if it's a nonprofit, but it's a network basically of individuals, and they pool money from members, and they show you actually the amount. They usually have a couple million in the bank, and they distribute that to members as needed for self-defense scenarios. And they give you the numbers. They'll provide up to $250,000. They'll cover your bail and bond, all that stuff. Up to $50,000. They'll cover up to $250,000 in criminal defense attorney fees, and up to $250,000 in civil defense, attorney fees. And you pick your own attorney. They can help you find one if you want in your state. Otherwise, you can just pick your own, from looking up on Google or whatever. So there's a couple companies like this, competitors too. They have different names and shit, but this is a really great one. I'd recommend it highly. I've recommended it to speakers and friends for years now, and definitely worth it. Because if you ever have to shoot someone to defend yourself, you can get in some deep shit real quick, even if you act completely within the bounds of the law.
It's absolutely self-defense oriented. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I noticed a little comment popped up, said, "What are you going to do if police show up, tough guys?" Comment number one: you're the kind of guy that would never say that to my face or any one of our faces.
Yep.
You're a keyboard warrior. That's the first thing. Everyone's real brave behind a keyboard. Number two, asshole, whoever you are, of course, anonymous asshole, whoever you are, one thing I know to be true is this. Every cop I know, and I know hundreds of them, they applaud citizens having legal firearms and being trained.
Yep.
Every cop I've ever asked, many of my friends, and I'm going to be 60, so I know a lot of guys who've been cops for 40 years. They say, go for it, man. More power to you, man. We like it. They like an armed citizenry. They love it. They absolutely love it. Because what happens is this. Usually cops arrive to bodies, and they have to put a chalk line around that body and take pictures of crime scenes.
The average response time in America outside of crazy riots and shit is like 15 minutes. I mean, when you have to defend yourself, you have less than like 15 seconds. Never mind 15 fucking minutes while someone drives from wherever the fucking town to come save you. By the way, police have no duty to protect you according to the Supreme Court. If they don't get there in time and you die, they have 0% responsibility. They don't even have to fucking come.
Well, I think that's something. I think there's something that's important that needs to be said about this as well, and it's kind of more of a meta comment, and that is that I think it's hilarious that Antifa actually has people in our chat trying to detract from our message by trying. I mean, look, there's 45 Lies, who's that's an anti-Trump person. You've got Johnny Karate, and again, you've got a couple other sock puppet accounts that are here specifically to harass. And I mean, come on. Really? Listen, if you're that threatened by us, go elsewhere. Go, you know what? Go do your thing. Because the reality is at the end of the day, American civil rights will continue to survive as long as patriotic American civil rights activists are willing to defend them. And based on what I've seen so far, it's going to be an uphill battle for the communists that are trying to overthrow our country. And Trump is leading from the front. And here's the thing, if you have a problem with guns and you have a problem with the United States, you don't have to be here. The United States has this thing called freedom of travel. Go emigrate somewhere. Like I said, if you're that uncomfortable with somebody sharing their viewpoint, somebody sharing their opinion, and you're so triggered, I suggest you do two things specifically in this order. Number one, go get the mental health therapy that you need because you're emotionally fragile. And if you're over the age of 18 and you're triggered by this particular conversation, that's an issue. And secondly, go to another country. And what people understand, and Johnny, I see your little chat about a Mexican telling us to leave. It's not that I'm a Mexican. It's that I'm a Mexican American. It doesn't matter what color my skin is. It doesn't matter what the thing. I was born here. My father fought for this country. My brother was in the military. So, there's a long, proud tradition of Americans of all colors, of all creeds, who have defended this country against enemies, foreign and domestic. And you could be triggered by that, and that's fine. And that's why I said, look, number one, because I care about you, go get the mental health therapy you need. And secondly, start doing things that will increase your testosterone. Put the soy down. Put the vegan diet down. Go to the gym. Lift a couple weights here and there. Do the things. Have sex with a woman instead of a man for a while. Try it out. Check it out. See how it is. You know, it might be new for you. I'm just trying to help you out, to expose you to a little bit of the diversity that you have not seen in your lifetime. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah, and as far as I just nuked, by the way, a couple of these people. As far as I commented earlier, man, most Americans will never give up their guns if there's any kind of confiscation. If the cops come out, yeah, my guns are not getting given up, I guarantee you. And most Americans are like that. This country was founded on rightful rebellion against tyranny, against evil, essentially. So yeah, my front door literally has a fucking doormat that says "Come back with a warrant." So end of story. I won't be giving up my guns ever in a million years. Get the fuck out of here. I'll do what I have to do to defend my country and defend my home and my family and myself. George?
I would like to say hello to my followers are called the Beasts, and that was by accident, because I remember replying to a follower once, and the autocomplete put in Beast instead of Best when I wrote Best Wishes. I actually ended up telling one of my followers Beast Wishes, and that became like a meme. So, and my followers are known as the Beasts. Many of the beasts intersect with the bears. And there are some bears on this broadcast right now. So more power to you, my bears. I would like to say this, that all of the gun talk that we are doing is 100% legal and constitutional. This is not vigilantism. This is not reactionaryism. It's a legal right. And I would say, as in with a lawnmower or a chainsaw or a very sharp knife, learn how to use it first. Otherwise, you'll get hurt. So when you get a gun, or you're thinking of getting a gun, go to your local gun range and spend an afternoon firing every caliber that is possible. What will be the most comfortable in your hand? What is the most easily reloadable? What is good for the most concealed carry? Try different things out. Never be in a hurry when buying a knife, a chainsaw, or a gun, because all those things can hurt you. And when you find something that fits, you'll know it. Just by gripping it, you'll say, yes, yes.
Just like a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This reminds me of too, is at the beginning of the COVID, pandemic stuff, gun sales went through the roof. And a lot of people were frustrated in California and shit. They were so ignorant about gun laws and stuff. They were frustrated they couldn't just, in their state, they couldn't just walk in and buy one. And they're freaking out, spazzing out. And yeah, people from the pandemic stuff and the uncertainty of that, the fear that made people feel legitimately. Is there going to be riots? Is there going to be food shortages? Well, we're not seeing food shortages yet, but we are seeing real riots in many dozens of major American cities. And yeah, you need a gun to protect yourself. I think every adult on this planet, never mind in America, should have the absolute right to defend themselves with a firearm. I think firearms are probably one of the most important inventions for individual human life and liberty ever created. It's the great equalizer, especially a handgun or a rifle.
One of the arguments is, I've heard people say, well, it's going to end up being like the Wild West. No, it's not. Not with legal firearm ownership. People that are trained. They are the most disciplined human beings. When you know you have something that can seriously harm or take a life, that comes with great responsibility. You won't last long if you don't have that responsibility. When I look at things the body cameras that the cops wear, we're soon going to be wearing, I think everybody is soon going to have some kind of camera in their car or something. You're going to need stuff. I remember the police said, oh, no, we don't want body cameras, because many of them were afraid initially when body cameras first started coming out. Let me tell you about body cameras. Body cameras can condemn you, or they can exonerate you. I am all for body cameras with police. I am all for every American legally carrying a firearm.
Yeah.
It can condemn you or it can exonerate you.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny to see people still in here still bitching like, why so much discussion about guns? It's like, because guns are really fucking important. They're a way to
Well,
exert your right to live peacefully. This is
well,
how you defend yourself. And early Americans demonstrated this at an incredible level.
Because 49 people died in Chicago 49 people got shot in Chicago last weekend. 10 of them died. One of them was a 16-year-old boy named Darnell Fisher, who got shot at 10:05 p.m. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. His name was Darnell Fisher. No one knows his name. He got buried yesterday. He got shot with an illegal firearm. They're out there. Guns are important. Last night, a federal officer got killed, shot in the head.
He was assassinated. Yeah, it was a drive-by. They weren't even. They were fucking nuts.
And when your enemy, when these guys say, why so much talk about guns, dude, take that message to your enemy, not to the good guys.
Yeah.
To the enemy.
And let me try to provide a little bit of context in addition to what was already said. The United States of America was founded by the use of firearms.
Yep.
Our United States Constitution gives us the legal right, authority, and responsibility to carry firearms. We defend our constitutional rights with firearms. The reason that our government is the longest standing government in the history of the world is because of our Constitution and our right to bear arms and our freedom of speech. Never in the history of the world has a country or a nation stood the way the United States stands. And the reason that is because no other country in the world has a constitution or civil rights protections or the right to bear arm or the freedom of speech in the way that the United States has it. And we are not a perfect country. And everybody here is human. And I am at least, if not more fallible than everybody else out there. But the reason that we're having a discussion about firearms is because we live in a free country with freedom of speech, and we protect that freedom of speech with firearms. If that triggers you, I respect that. Go get the mental health therapy you need, please.
Yeah. I want to put some proof to the pudding with this. Look at Hong Kong. I mean, these people, I think, were protesting rightfully for a long time now, and in the end, they're getting fucked. I mean, China is just fucking them over, and all the deals they made with the UK when Hong Kong, all that happened back in the 90s or whatever. It's going full totalitarian communist dictator shithole now. And they can't, what are they going to do? They're going to have to leave is what a lot of them are doing. They're going to America, they're going to the UK. The UK is doing special citizenship things for them and whatever, because they can't fight back at the end of the day. If push comes to shove, they can't fight back. They don't have the guns. And America, we do have the guns. We're the largest standing army in the world in terms of like a population. There's like 100 million gun owners or something in this country. That's bigger than any army on earth by far.
Yeah. It's not going to be the Wild West. I say to all men out there and all women watching this right now, I know Laura Thompson just made a comment about defending our family. Men and women, it is your obligation, number one, to make as much money as you possibly can. Why is that? Because you have children and you will have aging parents. That's a fact. Number two, it is your obligation to have a firearm to protect your family. Never bring a knife to a gunfight. If someone wants to assault you, rob you, take your life, you have to use enough power or force to overcome them.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's excessive force, but the reality is you need to be equipped. So make as much money as you possibly can. That's not selfish. All you ever think about is money. Because I have 3 children and 2 aging parents. And it's my obligation to care for my own. All you ever talk about is guns. Because I have 3 children and 2 aging parents. There's nothing wrong with being a provider. Part of being a good provider, whether you are a man or a woman in a single parent household, it is your obligation to be prepared for the worst. Expect the best, but be prepared. Be prepared for the worst. Period.
Well, it's a self-responsibility thing too. We talk about personal responsibility and extreme ownership and all this shit with self-improvement. It's like your fucking life and your fucking safety and your fucking body are your responsibility, not the cops, not someone else, not whoever the fuck. And dude, people in the UK, they don't have access to firearms and they really fucking hate it because if someone breaks in your house, like, what are you gonna do? Like, do you know how easy it is to get fucking
You're not allowed to report crime in the UK. You can't tweet about it. You can't call certain populations what they are. You can't talk about what's actually happening in London because you will go to jail. How many times do we have to see that happening? It's quite amazing.
And let's talk about the mindset too. But go ahead,
yeah, real quick. So something both of you were talking about, especially George, with how responsible gun owners are, lawful gun owners, and all this. So it's really important to note that all these mass shootings, which I think are statistically actually on the decline in recent years, all these mass shooters, all stupid, crazy shit that goes on. Dude, first of all, most of the time these firearms are obtained illegally. They're stolen from a parent or somebody they know. They're stolen from a gun, you know, whatever the fuck, however the fuck they got them. It's almost never legal in the first place. They're already breaking the law. Second of all, they're never carrying the firearms legally. None of them. None of these fucking zero of these shooters ever have a CCW carry permit ever. People who actually carry firearms like me and George and stuff, you don't fuck around. You are intentionally a law-abiding citizen. The idea that you're going to carry a firearm lawfully and then go do some crazy ass illegal shit with it is retarded. No one does this. The only people who do that are fucking criminals in the first place. They don't respect all these laws anyway. So yeah, people that actually carry firearms lawfully, especially in Florida, there's a lot of this stuff. They stop a lot of shootings. They stop a lot of bad shit. And then obviously, you know, that happened in Texas too. What last year it was, right? In that church. A couple people in the audience in whatever town that was in Texas took the guy out immediately. Some scumbag that came in with a shotgun. And they said, fuck this lizard, and they shot him up. Exactly. Because they're responsible for themselves and their family and their community. Not they don't depend on the cops who should be. Cops are not even there to protect your life. They're there to enforce the law. Law enforcement officers are there to enforce the law. Protecting your life is it's kind of a necessary extension of that, but first and foremost, it's your responsibility, not theirs.
And that's kind of the point that
firearm owner is the most situationally aware human being I know.
Yeah.
A conscientious, conscious firearm owner is the most situationally aware human being I know.
And one of the things I wanted to say too, that kind of goes back to something that George said in the beginning of this live stream, when he talked and touched on stoicism. This idea that everybody needs to go out and they need to consume for the sake of consumption, or they need to keep up with the Joneses, you know, that's just as dangerous as everything else. And when we talked about prepping earlier, you know, part of that prepping responsibility is exactly what was said earlier, in that, you know, you need to go out and make as much money as you can, because you need to take care of yourself, you need to take care of your family, but you also need to be prepped for a rainy day. Even before COVID happened, even before these riots happened, many Americans didn't have more than $500 in their savings account to prepare for any kind of emergency. And most people didn't have 6 months of income set aside, or some sort of stable income set aside to deal with it. So, you know, when it comes to firearms ownership, when it comes to being a responsible adult, when it comes to being a responsible provider, you know, you have to do a certain amount of work. You have to make a certain amount of decisions, but you also need to refrain from certain types of decisions as well. You know, as far as like the overindulgence of drugs and alcohol, or living a degenerate lifestyle and those types of things, because that instant gratification attitude is going to cause you to repent at leisure, and it's going to cause you a lot of regret, that some of which you may not be able to recover from. And so, you know, when you do take these responsibilities, you know, whether it be gun ownership or learning a martial art or trying to get a better job or trying to do some prepping, you need to do it in a very measured way. And you need to do it, like George said, in a very conscientious, conscious way. Because if you don't, it will come back and bite you. You know, any idiot can shoot a gun, as we've seen in Chicago, but lawful gun owners who are responsible, contributing citizens to their communities, those are the ones we need. And those are the people that are going to be the ones who defend our Constitution, again, against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yep. Yeah, there's a comment here. Go ahead, George.
Go ahead. I just got a text from someone who's watching this, a personal text. He has been a police officer. He's now, I forget what he is. He's a lieutenant. He's up there. He became a cop at 20 years old. He's now 50 years old. He's watching this right now. He just texted me and said, "You are spot on. Thank you for your work. It is a breath of fresh air."
Yeah.
This is a guy at the top of his game, 50 years old. Got red-pilled, solid dude. He was a guy, you guys have heard me talk about him. He was cleaning out the refrigerator in the lunchroom at his police station. And the refrigerator used to be an evidence refrigerator in another, like in the laboratory area, okay? So when they got a new one, they brought this one into like the lunchroom. And one day he's cleaning out the drawers. Believe it or not, there was a vial of blood stuck underneath one of the drawers. You know, refrigerators get sticky from vegetables or juice or whatever. And he pulls out this vial. And he said, "You know what? What the hell?" And it was labeled like 1986. He sent it to the lab, got the DNA done, he wasn't in a hurry. He ended up solving the murder of a 14-year-old girl that got raped because they weren't.
George, I think you're.
He ended up solving a murder from 1986.
George, your internet's getting kind of.
Are you there?
Spotty. Yeah, we can hear you, but it's hard to see. Sometimes you're freezing up.
Yeah, the internet's I think it's taking a dump. It could be people trying to DDoS us because they're insecure. I've had that happen before.
Yeah, but no, I'm not surprised at all, George. I mean, all the cops I've ever known, even guys I barely know, I just met somehow very briefly, like sheriff's deputies, city police. They support gun ownership. They support individuals strongly, owning a firearm, especially for home defense. Just throughout every year of your life. If someone breaks into your house, man, you have this bad fucking news. All kinds of bad shit can happen. Like way worse than just getting robbed. You can get murdered, raped, tortured. I mean, really sick shit happens sometimes. Can you guys hear me?
No.
Yeah. Oh, fuck you. I think okay. I was making sure it's George's internet, not mine. If mine cuts out, the whole show's in a fucking shit.
Right.
Okay.
No, we're good.
I think we'll see if George chops back in.
Yeah. By the way, this is why I use private internet access VPN. Works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Just FYI, they don't pay me any money for it, but it's a fantastic VPN because I've had people attempt to DDoS me and drop me off the internet, sort of like how people have been trying to drop George off. So, it is what it is. But like I said, I think that, it's super important for us to protect our constitutional rights, to protect our civil rights. And Antifa and these riots across the country, they're not civil rights riots. They're communist riots, and they're attempting to foment insurrection in the United States.
Yeah. I use Proton VPN, by the way. I used to use PIA, but Proton's like way cooler. But it's all good. Most of them are good anyway. Do your homework.
Yep.
George,
welcome back, George.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, technological issues I had no control over.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Well, so, let's kind of start rounding this out. I'm going to go try to see George's dad today if I can get an appointment for a haircut. I'm desperate need here. We'll see if he's available. But I don't know anyone cut my hair except for Bruno. Period. It's just a rule I have. But where do we think this is going to go? I mean, I see a very real potential, and some people will disagree with me, but some people are obviously not. I think there's a very real potential this is going to escalate into. I saw a major actress, calling for a race war today on Twitter. I forgot what some redhead chick. I don't know. And
I honestly believe the cities are going to be the hellholes. I think what's going to happen is not unlike the movies Escape from New York and Escape from LA. There will be police officers placed at the entrances of most big cities, and they will be looking through your car. They will be asking, "Why are you coming into the city? What are you doing?" I really, and those movies talk about New York and LA being maximum security prisons. And I really think that the hotspots are going to be cities, not so much the suburbs, but the cities. And there's a lot of cities in the United States that are run by far left wingers, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Cities, I've been saying it for years, get out of the cities. Get out.
Yeah, I agree. To underscore what George says, yeah, tier 1, tier 2 cities, absolutely. Stay away from them. They're going to be hot spots. I think that the military and the federal government is going to start going after Antifa and their funders now that Trump has designated this as a terrorist organization. Thank God. And I think that what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing a lot of arrests. The organizers are going to be arrested. The people who are financing them are going to have their money seized. I think that there'll be a potential for civil war, but I think that if Trump and the federal government get out in front of this, I think we can put this communist insurrection to bed.
Yeah.
Think about this. Remember the talk about the FEMA camps? They were saying about, well, this is where they're going to put conservatives and all this. I'm seeing a different story now because regular prisons are already overcrowded. Yep. It looks like these FEMA camps that have fencing and barbed wire around them, believe me, they're not camps.
No, George, they're not. Okay? They're not FEMA camps. They're Bernie camps, and all these guys like Bernie, so they're going to get to go to Bernie camp.
Right?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to love
Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend at Bernie's, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, and by the way, for people who don't understand too, and again, I've looked into Antifa a lot. If you think for a second that Antifa is a male or only organization, you are grossly mistaken. A lot of the leadership within the Antifa movement, especially on the street, is led by women. And these women will surround themselves with these white knight cucks. The women will instigate. And then once they get the person engaged, the woman will back off and then the men will come and assault their target. So you need to be aware if you're on the street and you're running around doing your thing and you think that you get caught by Antifa and you see a woman start yelling at you, disengage immediately, get back within 15 or 20 feet so you have room to clear leather to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Here's an article I just found. Misandry, the invisible hatred of men. Yeah, it's not so invisible. It's not so invisible when you're getting fucking butt fucked with no lube in divorce court.
Exactly.
Or women are in the street screaming the feature's female, men are toxic and fucking evil.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not surprised at all that the women are involved with that stuff. Of course, they would easily attract the at least the most radical, 30% of feminists who are just fucking blue-haired psychos.
Right.
Yeah. Fucking what a time to be alive.
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot, though, as far as the stream is concerned. I think we've probably covered everything. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah. Guys watching, take care of yourself, man. Stock up on stuff. This is, the last chance is, it's not last chance. You don't know when the last chance is going to be. So assume today is your last chance. Order up stuff locally. Go online. Like, if you're not in a major city that's fucking burning to the ground, buy ammo's cheap, man. You can go to all kinds of websites, buy a bunch of ammo in bulk. You can easily get 1,000 rounds. Look up your state laws. There should be any limitations on that. But dude, shotgun shells, handgun ammunition, rifle ammunition, stock up on stuff, buy it in bulk. If you don't have a gun, buy a gun if it's legal for you to do so 100% immediately. Buy a bulletproof vest. That one I showed you is $300. Most are around $200 to $300 for a good one. Make sure you're not buying some piece of shit. Level 3, I think, is the way to go. There's other layers of it too. You can look up guides to, body armor and stuff. And, of course, pandemic stuff still, but, food and all that. We'll see what happens with all the food and the meat and all that shit, man. Holy shit.
And if you want to feel comfortable with firearms, talk to someone who owns them.
Yeah.
Firearm owners are friendly. They love sharing their knowledge, and they want to see you feel competent as well.
Yeah, if you're new to guns, buy one immediately, but immediately after that, go take a course, there's all kinds of courses locally for how to use firearm. Just basic stuff. You'll learn, if you train with somebody who's actually a professional, even a couple hours, it'll change you rapidly.
Yeah.
Especially dry firing and basically getting the kick, or not the kickback, but the all kinds of little bullshit you do when firing a weapon. You can learn how to dry fire, really, really well, and you can keep that smoothness through a trigger point on any weapon. You're going to get a lot more accurate and a lot more confident in your ability to shoot. That was a game changer for me. learning how to dry fire super, super well and being very strict about it. And then finally, last year, I took live 360 training with a firearm out with the Navy SEAL and stuff, Rich Graham and those guys. That was an amazing experience, doing close quarters, you know, room clearing and stuff, and then actual live firing, not just down a range, but like in real life at an outdoor range. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
I remember when you did that. That was cool.
Yeah, Sons of Patriarchy. You guys check it out on YouTube. Just Google Sons of Patriarchy. Well, everybody, appreciate you tuning in to the special edition of the live stream. Obviously, it's a little different than what we usually do with the Redman group on Saturdays, stuff like that. You can find George Bruno on YouTube, on his website, georgebruno.com, and also on YouTube, just type George Bruno. He'll pull right up. And DDJ, you can find at missandrytoday.com, and same thing on YouTube, just type Miss Andry Today. You pull them right up. Gentlemen, I appreciate both your times, and everybody else tuning into the show and the super chat. Thank you. Hit the thumbs up button, and we'll see you on the next live stream, probably next Saturday for the Redman group.
Everybody remain calm.
Yep.
Okay.